If you've got
All
your,
right.
you can put your cameras on. We would love to see your face. Especially, oh, David and Lindsay are doing that. I never know if I have David or if I have Lindsay. It's so
I think we
confusing.
have both.
We do. Oh, Karina's driving. Hi. Welcome to our continued sessions of The One Thing. I am Brooke Silva, your regional technology trainer, and I will let Jen and Tiffany kick off who they are, and then we'll get right into the content today.
I'm here
I'm
just for
Tiffany.
fun. My name is Jen Bovey. I am the area director for the New England region, as well as an operating principal here in Little, Rhode Island. Tiffany, you're taking away
And
the
I'm,
show. Go ahead.
yeah, and I'm Tiffany. I am the regional productivity coach. So here we go. All right. So for those who were here with us last week, we were in chapter 4 and we were in chapter 5. I'd love to hear some feedback on what you took away from last week.
Oh, let's stop sharing so we can see friends.
Yes. Love the silence. It's my favorite part of this meeting. And Brooke's face, obviously. So we got nothing from last week.
I like the pictures.
Pictures do make things easier, right? When we're, like maybe in adult business books, they should put more pictures to help us connect the dots.
Absolutely. 100%. All right. So last week we talked about, what did we talk about last week? Come on, guys. One was everything matters equally as a myth. And then the other one was the monkey mind. And what else did we talk about? Help me out here. Solo tasking, love it. All right. I guess nobody wants to share. We'll warm them up. Let's get into today. So today we're talking about a disciplined life. Honestly, this is my absolute favorite chapter because this gave me permission to not be disciplined in every aspect of my life. When I learned this one, I learned that it's okay to binge watch a TV show on Netflix on a Friday night and not be disciplined during that time, right? Not all aspects of our life have to be disciplined. So I'd love, before we get into the content, and Brooke, if you can go to the next slide. Tell me something that you're really great when it comes into discipline. And put it in the chat since nobody wants to be vocal today. What is one thing that you have just nailed the discipline on? Brushing my teeth. What else?
I nailed the discipline on it, like doing the important things in the morning because I'm a morning person. So I make my phone calls in the morning. If I'm going to go for a walk, I do that in the morning. So that's kind of because when it gets past lunchtime, God knows what's going to happen.
Absolutely. We also have, I'm most disciplined with things I've made into a routine. And we're going to talk about that because this is where that 66-day challenge comes into play. Keeping my kids on the homework track. Yeah, I wish I had the discipline on that one. Walking regular, making my bed once I wake up. That's a great discipline, right? There's actually a book, Make Your Bed, I think is what it's called. And essentially, at the end of the day, if you just do a few things in a disciplined format, then everything else either is easier or non-existent, right? So how can you discipline around, or what should you discipline in your business right now that's important? Calls.
Lead gen.
What else? Follow up. Absolutely. How about knowing the market? Like, what would it look like if you were disciplined that every single morning before you even picked up the phone, you knew one great fact about what's going on in the market? And Jen, I think, was it yesterday? We're on so many
Yeah.
calls together, but I feel like yesterday we just had this conversation, did we not?
The
Oh,
soapbox.
I
Yeah.
have
The
it
soapbox.
Yeah, I have it daily. And yeah, know your numbers, be your local expert. If you're on the call yesterday, you know we're talking about just knowing your numbers is something that should be a habit or a discipline. I believe if you're truly looking to be the local expert in your area.
Absolutely. And, you know, in the book, they talk about Michael Phelps, right? And they described him as a kid with ADHD that was never going to be successful. And did he prove them wrong? Just a little bit. And if you continue reading the story, and who read the story of Michael Phelps in the book and can share why he was successful at what he did? It's page 56 for those that want to cheat.
He just kept practicing.
Right? He like literally, and Michael, I think it was Michael Jordan. I'm not a big basketball fan, and yet Michael Jordan was like, what's the one thing I could do that separates me from everybody else? And it was practice that one extra day. So what did Michael Phelps do? Like literally every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, he was in the pool. And all he wanted to do is, how do I break my record every single day? That was his only mission. That was his only discipline. So when you look at your business, how can I break the record every single day in your business?
I just want to point out that Tiffany did not say, how do I break the record of Brooke's business or David's business? She said her business. And I think a lot of times we lose that. And we've spoken about this before in the social media era, where we see so many other agents posting all their successes. We get lost in what they're doing rather than what we are doing. So if you heard anything that Tiffany just said, be 1% better than you were yesterday. How do you beat yourself? How do you be in competition with you?
Right. And, you know, like, and coming from the productivity coaching world, at the end of the day, our mission, our goal is to have 20 conversations every single day about real estate, right? And yet getting to that 20 is a task. So how do you do one conversation today, 2 conversations tomorrow, 3 conversations? And once you hit that number, how do you consistently do 20 so it becomes a discipline and a habit? And I feel like, Brooke, you and I on session 1, we really talked about, this is where that 66-day habit came into play.
Right. Because
Right?
it's not about good habits or bad habits. It's about new habits. And then as adults, we have so many life circumstances that have molded us to be how we are, that it's about creating new habits and finding that lead domino, right? To make sure that you are doing those things. Remember, for me, it was, I want to be able to get up every day and do my savers. Well, getting up every day and do my savers, I lost that 66-day because I wasn't going deep enough, and I didn't find my lead domino, which was I was a workaholic and needed to shut off by 7. Right. So once I got into the habit, everything changed of going to bed early so I could wake up earlier and do my savers.
Absolutely. And, you know, when you're focused on just that one thing, you don't have to monitor everything else, right? Because when you pick up the phone and you make the phone call and you talk to a person and you say, hey, Brooke, you know, how was your week? And you have that Ford conversation, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. When you have that Ford conversation, then you go in to say, hey, it's my goal to help 6 families reach their real estate dreams. Who do you know that's had a life experience, a life change, you know, had a baby, retired, whatever their story may be, right? Because those events in their life, that causes them to have a real estate goal. So by having that conversation and developing the habit of having that conversation, it moves you towards all your other goals. Because at the end of the day, a closing comes, that's the last domino in that relationship built on day one when you picked up the phone and you made the phone call. So can you become successful with less discipline? 100%. I am not a disciplined human being, and yet I do a couple of things really great. What are your thoughts, Jen?
This is just a really powerful conversation because a lot of us get caught up on the how do I get so disciplined to be successful? And the reality of this whole conversation is if you just do a few things right, you will be successful. What are those few things that you need to do in your business that just needs to be right? That's
Right.
it.
What is the one thing that if I do, everything else becomes unnecessary or easier?
Well, and it comes back to Jen's point of when I made the comment of I instead of they, the other agent, because a lot of us get in trouble when we look at another agent or another person that's successful in life and say, well, I'm not successful because I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. So we're literally judging our insides by somebody else's outsides. And that's not necessarily a true statement. If you want to switch slides to the next one. So essentially when we're looking at what we're doing, stay internal. The only person that we should be worried about is ourselves, right? Like in my world up here in Maine, there's 24,000 transactions in the state of Maine. My goal is only to have X amount of those transactions if I'm an agent to be successful. I don't really need to have the other 24,322. I only need 34, right? So don't look at that agent that's really nailing 500 transactions, because at this moment in time, your one thing is to be disciplined enough to get you to your personal goal.
Right, because that's how they got there. They figured out the one thing they can do, and they have already moved past the point of where you may be. So it's compete against yourself, not against.
Yep.
Yes, do we love those? We love leaderboards as if people who are in worlds like this, but that is also what will burn you out. Compete against yourself and take your production and change the goal from last year to one of growth. How do you get really disciplined on one thing to move that closer to your goal?
Yep. And the graphic on the next slide, I mean, I love this graphic, and yet honestly, it could be even more. It could be like a hockey stick, right? You're going, and then all of a sudden you go up. And it's because you're building that habit, right? So when you look at this, it's time over or activity over time, right? So are you doing it for 5 days and saying, I didn't see the results, so now I'm going to move on to something else? Right? And I'm guilty of that. I will raise my hand and tell you all day long, I have that flaw in my world that I want instant gratification. So getting to 66 days is tough for me. Right? And somewhere between 18 days and 284 days is when it becomes a habit for you. The easier the goal, the easier the habit you're looking to build, the less the time, the more intense the habit you're building, the more the time. So if you're at day 66 and it's just not there yet, don't stress. You just need a few more days. Keep going, make it happen. You know, and honestly, I'd love to know, because 66-day challenge, for those that have been around, whether you read the book or not, we've all talked about a 66-day challenge. Is there something in your life that you created a 66-day challenge around? And I know, Brooke, you talked about your savers. Jen, you talked about.
I've done a few.
Yeah.
I've done a few for my health. I tried to not always focus on business related ones, because I'm more than my business. I'm a whole person, right? And if the whole person isn't healthy, one area is always going to suffer. So I still have the habits from most of my 66-day challenges.
Yep. And Jen, you're working on one right now, right?
Yes, I was just trying to see when I had started it because I think it has been just about 60 days, or maybe not, maybe 45, but it feels like 66 because I am in the habit of doing
That's
it. I have a nutrition coach, and some of you have heard this already. I have to text her 5 times a day the meals that I'm having. So a picture of the meals during the time frame that I'm supposed to be having them. And I will tell you, when I first started this discipline or this habit, it was time consuming and a little hard. Now that I'm probably about 40, 45 days into it and, climbing up to the 66 days, it's easier. It's so much easier to prepare, to know when I'm going to be texting her, to get it done. And so that, yeah, I'm telling you, it gets easier as you build your discipline or your habit of what you pick.
Absolutely. And the big ideas of this chapter, and what I love about this book, it's so bite-sized. So the big ideas of this chapter: don't be a disciplined person. Be a person of powerful habits, and you select discipline to develop them, right? So what is the one thing that by accomplishing that thing, it will make you feel better, will reach your goals that you desire to reach immediately, and be able to move you on to the next goal, right? Build one habit at a time. I know we're reading the book, The One Thing, and yet there's there's a book, you build stack habits, right? How do you stack habits? So today's goal is my 66-day challenge I'm going to start today is I'm going to talk to 10 people every single day. And then when I finish that, I'm going to add on another 5. And when I finish that, I'm going to do social media, right? So how can you stack them so that they're sequential, right? They don't have to be simultaneous. And we get in trouble when we want to be simultaneous. We can't do everything as much as we would like to. And that is a lesson that's taken me a really long time to learn.
and they talk about multitasking in this book, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So then we have willpower, right? Willpower is always on will call. No.
No matter how many times I hear that, it will always make me giggle because it's so true.
Yeah. Because I have willpower for all of maybe 10 minutes, and then I have to fight to keep it going, right? So willpower is always on will call is a lie. It's not realistic. We have limited battery life. We really have to figure out, okay, how do we make sure that we are taking every action possible to do the most important activities when we're on board? What does that look like? So somebody talk to me about willpower.
David, you had your hand raised. Oh, you're on mute.
I did, and maybe this goes back to willpower, but Jen said something a few minutes ago. I think it's worth repeating, and maybe it has something to do with willpower. And it's a great book that I'm reading right now, Atomic Habits. I think many of you read it, and it's about accountability. Jen, would you be as successful with these habit forming activities without the accountability of that other person?
100% no, because I've tried it that way. I've tried it before, deciding that I was going to do a plan, and I fell through on it or didn't succeed on it. And David, to your point, you're absolutely right. It is the high accountability. It's 3 things, and I've said this on my call. It's 1, fully committing to this. So that could be willpower. 2, fully saying that I'm going to prepare. And 3, being okay with the accountability. So yes, is the answer.
And that's important,
Absolutely.
right? Habits are hard to break, hard to form, but accountability part to make it so much less hard.
Mm-hmm. How many on here have some type of accountability person in their life? Put yes or no in the chat. And if you're driving, please don't do either. Right? Because at the end of the day, if you have somebody supporting you, and I'll just be brutally honest, I don't like to disappoint people. So knowing that I do not like to disappoint people, having somebody holding me accountable is not only the the support I need because I don't want to go back and say, no, I did not do it. And then if you pay for accountability, you're literally spending money on it as well. So there's a huge piece of that. You know, do your most important work in the morning, right? And some people, and honestly, they say do it in the morning. I would say if you're a night person, do it when whatever that morning is in your world, do it then, right? I'm a 4:30 a.m. person. So I try to do my stuff as soon as I possibly can.
I have the text to prove it. Because I'm also up that early. Jen's like, do not text me at 4:30 in the morning. My morning buddy.
Yes. Yeah, no. And honestly, and that's okay, right? I mean, Brooke, when do you and I meet on Tuesday mornings?
8 a.m. and sometimes earlier, depending on if my kid gets on the bus earlier. Like the earlier her and I can meet before our days start for certain accountability pieces is easier because I find that in the afternoon is when my problems or I have to take care of problems. So then all my other meetings that I know I can move, I move those and then they don't happen. Right. So it's early for us because it works for us. And now it's a habit.
Yeah. I absolutely loved the story that went along with this graphic. So essentially, they did a study, people that were going up for parole, I think is what the story was. I forget what country it was. And they said literally people that were up for parole as soon as it started were 60% more likely to get paroled than those that went just before the morning break. And then after morning break, if you were on that roster and you were at the beginning, you got paroled. But if you were waiting for afternoon break, you didn't. So it was like, when did you need to be in front of that parole board? It was as soon as they started their day, right? So, and what's your business like? When you're lead generating or you're having those conversations, when do you have the most return on the conversation?
So Tiffany, I love this conversation. And I just want to go back to what I see in the chat here and ask maybe a question or two. You know, and I'll tell you, my accountability with my nutrition coach is real. I'll give you an example. Last night, I have to have 5 meals a day. Last night, I said, hey, do I have to have my 5th meal? I'd rather just go to bed. And I was told, no, you should have your 5th meal before you go to bed, especially because I worked out, you know, whatever. So she gave me the reason why, but I probably would have just went to bed if I didn't have that accountability person. So again, going back to what I see in the chat, and about 50% of people who replied in here said either kind of or no to accountability. I would like to challenge you on what is one area in your business or life that you could use accountability in. I needed the accountability for myself to commit to the goals I wanted to commit for myself. What do you need to commit to or want to commit to for yourself or your business? Pick one thing right now. And then here's the thing, you could have the wrong accountability coach sometimes. If the person is going to give you the passes, like, oh, don't worry, you didn't do your lead generation, no worries. You're
Nope.
good. Go to the beach, go see that movie at the theater. It does nothing for your business. The reason that you have somebody that's you're accountable to is because they're helping you get closer to the goal that you set for yourself, to be 1% better than you were yesterday. So every single person on here has something they want to accomplish. Write that down and write who could help you accomplish that. It could be one of us on this screen, by the way. And we love being accountability people, meaning that if you want us to help you get to your next ceiling or your next breakthrough piece of your business, let us help you, because we will hold you accountable. And all that accountable means is take ownership of what you want to do.
You know, we talk about that in 6PP, Jen. You and I flip the script on accountability and we call it ownership. The other thing is, if you're going to ask for an accountability partner, you've got to set the expectations. I want you to call me. I want you to ask me XYZ, and I want you to ask me these specific questions. When you have those set up, because I might not know how to be your accountability partner either, right? It's not about friendship at that point. It's about Tiffany calling me, did you make the thing? Did you do this? Right? Like, did you time manage what you were supposed to, the time on task, which we talk about in this slide, but it all comes back to also, it then shows you when you are spread too thin, right? There's only so many hours in the day. There's so much of me, right? Because I'm a person outside of what we do here. Jen is, Tiffany is, David is, all the Davids are, right? We're all
Yep.
people.
100%. So they gave us some practical advice, like don't spread your willpower too thin. You have limited willpower, so decide what matters, right? And we'll get into it. We talk about the GPS. We talk about the 411. Like, when is your 411? And for those that don't know what that is, we'll talk about in a minute. Is your 411 on your screen at all times? I have dual screens, and on my other screen, no matter where I am in life, I'm looking at my 411 and saying, am I doing the most important things right now to support my personal goals? And Brooke, for those that that don't know what a 411 is, what is a 411?
Basically, it's the steps you break down after figuring out what your big goals are that move you towards it. Right. So
Right.
if you need to do this many units, we break it down monthly. And then these are the strategies. I hate that word. Strategies to get you to hit those tasks and get closer to your goal. There's always one word per class with us, I swear.
Well, and you know, so one of my goals is to bring on 10 coaching clients between now and the end of the month, right? So in order, and let's just say in your world, your goal is to go on 4 appointments between now and the end of the month, right? So what activity do you have to do this week to make that happen? How many phone calls do you have to make to get to your appointment? Do you know your numbers, right? Which is, in Jen's world, priority number 1. Absolutely. And then monitor your fuel gauge. Don't be like me. I monitor my fuel gauge with Chuckles in the corner of my office. But monitor your fuel gauge. And if you feel like you're draining, eat an orange, eat an apple, have something that you can put into your body to amp it up. So as David says, when we have to go in front of the parole board, they're not ugly and saying no.
So
Right?
you're telling people they should be taking breaks, Tiffany.
Yeah.
Okay.
Practice. Right. Exactly. See, Brooke sees my calendar. So there are some days where my willpower is 0 because I do not have 20 minutes put on my calendar where I'm taking a break and walking, right? Like, in the perfect world, I live in 30-minute, 60-minute increments on my calendar. In the perfect world, I would have 4 30-minute increments, and then I would take a 30-minute and go for a 15-minute walk, have something really great to eat. And then I would do another, 4 30-minute session and do the same thing. That's a 66-day challenge that I have tried and failed numerous times. And yet I'm not going to give up on it because I know in my world, that's going to take me to the next level. Absolutely. So time your tasks. I think we've hit that. And then mind your motivation, right? Suggest that it says attention and beliefs about your willpower will impact your self-control. So now you know, and you can't use it as an excuse that you did not know. So for those that are on this call, what is one way that you're going to control your willpower? Not talk to me? How are you gonna, what's one thing that you could do today to make sure your willpower is where it needs to be to do the most important tasks?
We'll start with Tiffany as an example. She's going to time block a 15-minute space after 30 minutes to do nothing but get up
Oh, yeah.
or eat or get water or something. Like
Right.
that simple.
Well, I mean, that is literally something I am working on. Like, I'm working really hard to make sure in my calendar, every 2 hours, there's a 15 to 30-minute break. I'm only as good as how I show up. And if my willpower is low, I'm not showing up the way I should. Absolutely. What else? Brooke, how are you playing with willpower?
I have an accountability partner.
Okay.
Not just in the sense of, are you on a 66-day challenge, but working with a coach is a game changer, right? Because they check your into all parts of you. Because also, if it's not the right task, willpower is going to be low as well. So if I'm doing time on the wrong tasks, sometimes I need someone to help me identify that as well.
Absolutely. And I love what David put in the chat. I feel like if you go to the next slide, he literally read the slide. It's literally what they said in the book is you have to plan around your willpower. You have to plan around your day. Go ahead, Brooke, and it says, don't fight your willpower. You went too fast.
This one? I was on this one.
Don't fight your willpower. Build your days around how it works and let it do its part to build your life. Willpower may not be on will call, but when you use it first on what matters most, you can always count on it. So I always say, I mean, Gary Keller was on the stage, I think it was Mega Camp, where he said, everything is done. It used to be by 12 noon, his day was complete. All of his priorities were done. And now because he's advancing and doing other stuff, it's 2 o'clock. But at 2 o'clock right now, he can end his day and he feels fulfilled and complete because everything he needed to get done is done.
I would like to be done by 2. I don't think it's possible. But what a day to be done by 2. Like kids in school.
Well, and here's the other part of it though. He's done with the most important stuff. It doesn't mean he's done with his day, right?
Right. He's done with the big rocks.
That if his day was done at 2 o'clock, he could go to bed and say, I accomplished what I needed to accomplish.
He also says that he makes sure that he speaks to 5 people that are doing really well in business a day to do a consultation. And he does that for himself, for him to learn and make sure he knows what's happening in the industry and to be able to help others. So I would take that myself and say, who are the 5 people that I could consult with in my business? Is it a lender because I need to know what the new programs are with the interest rates going higher? Is it an attorney to tell me what's going on with deals falling apart because of the shifting market? Who are the 5 people that you could have a really great conversation with today that's going to help you be better tomorrow? He does that every day, by the way, before 2 o'clock. I would use that little hack from Gary, by the way.
Absolutely. So before we move on to the workbook, I'd love to hear, what did you hear in the disciplined life and the willpower is on will call sections of this book? Don't be shy.
Be a person of powerful habits, Erin said.
Absolutely.
Are habits made overnight?
Nope.
Nope.
And I really love what David said when he says he needs to take the time to plan the day rather than just keeping himself busy, right? Like, how many of us are busy every single day?
Busy's not an emotion, by the way. I say it all the time. Cut it out of your vocab. People ask you how you are. Busy is not an emotion.
Absolutely.
And I like how Lindsay called him right out on starting with this evening. I love when we have a husband and wife teams on. It's so good. You know what? I want to just back up because Jill said something, and this is a great. Jill, are you still on? I'm looking for you on my screen. There you are. I see you, Jill. You said packing a healthy snack lunch before I head out the day. And I'm going to challenge you that that's not a morning thing. Probably if you're not doing it, do it the night before. So your 66-day challenge, maybe getting yourself ready the night before with all the things you need. That I do it for my kids. I do it for myself. And if that stuff isn't done, wow, is our morning a mess here? A mess. So think about things like that, because if you're not doing it, where's the lever, right? Dig deeper. Why aren't you doing it?
Absolutely. All right, Brooke, let's pull up the workbook. So in addition to reading the book, we're also really working on the workbook. And so far we've done sections 1, 2. Section 1 was around what matters to you. And then section 2 is finding the link. Do you want to pull the actual workbook up, Brooke?
Yeah, give me 1 sec for that. I'll pull it up so they can see. Okay. I've also posted it in the chat a few times so you guys can see it there. So let me go 1, 2.
So I'd love to hear, as this is week 3, what is it that really does matter to you? Like, what is motivating you to be in this class right now, to learn how to focus on the one thing so that what matters most to you is in place? Amy, I see you coming off mute.
Yeah, I'm like hesitant, but honestly, to just remember to not, start by not letting myself down.
Yep. What's important about not letting yourself down?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah.
I think it's just can be a snowball and it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I think it's really important to start there and then I think it carries on to everything else in your life.
Absolutely. And when you think about the legacy you're leaving with the people that are important to you, if you now not letting yourself down and the discipline of that and the growth and the opportunity, what does that do for the people around you? What are you teaching them?
Sorry, you asking me directly again?
Sure.
I think it sets a good example.
Right.
And that has a ripple effect. I think it has a ripple effect either way, whether you're continuously letting yourself down or whatever it is, the thing, and then, but it goes the other way too. So I'd rather have a much positive ripple effect.
Well, yeah, because what's the opposite? It's flushing a toilet.
Yeah.
It's really what it is
Yeah.
on the positivity and production. It's a ripple or a flush.
Yep. I love what Aaron wrote, be a beacon, right? So would love to hear in this section of what matters most, what are some of the things you put in this? Like, why are you in real estate? What is important about having a great business? And this is where my brutally honest personality comes in. If you don't have a purpose of why you want to be in business, it will be a lot harder for you to nail your goals. And it doesn't have to be anything enormous. It could be something very small.
Mine is my family, my husband and my girls. That's really the only reason why. I want to be a good model for my girls, and I want to have a great marriage with my husband.
And having a successful business, how does that help that and support that?
Well, allows us not to worry about paying the bills. It allows me to flex around my schedule if something needs to be done, hence the driving right now. So, so it allows me that flexibility. So,
Absolutely.
so if I wasn't making any money, I wouldn't be able to do this. I'd have to say, sorry, kids, I sucked today. I gotta make phone calls.
Right.
Oh,
And let's
although
even take it further than that. What happens if you go get a 9-to-5 job? What does that do to that?
Well, then, like, this little trip here couldn't take place, and it would be like devastating for my daughter. So,
Yep.
yeah. So I mean,
Absolutely.
so that's basically.
We lost your volume. You muted yourself.
You muted yourself. She's having a
still
great old time.
talking.
We're just gonna let her go. We're just gonna let her go. We'll just let her go.
You muted yourself, Corinna.
And Linda put in the chat, help people. And I love that, but help people how? Go deeper, right? Help people what? Break the cycle of poverty, or, retain first-time home buyers, home ownership, invest in themselves, right? More. What is helping people do?
Right.
Well, I've already encountered at least 3 clients that were referred to me that were initially with another realtor, and they were just left in the dust. No phone calls, no feedback, nothing. When they referred them to me, they came to me with tears, like, I don't know where to go. No one wants to help me. So just being able to help them, bring them to the finish line and show that I actually do care. It doesn't matter what the price point is, just it brings me pleasure to know that I actually helped them get to where they needed to be, which was finding them a home. I mean, if everyone has a story, right? So if you are not building that relationship with your client and they just pass them along to pass along to pass along, and finally I was able to help them achieve their dreams, their goals, regardless of the price point, just brings satisfaction to me to know, wow, some of their stories are heartfelt, like, wow, now I'm getting into a personal relationship with them to work, even though I work extra hard, but working extra hard to accomplish what they've been striving for with other agents, to then find out that I was the one to actually bring them to that finish line. Brings me satisfaction, gratification, everything.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
we have no idea what's going on in other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the smallest thing that we do for them, the impact that it has, we don't realize it. So taking care of others is huge. Jill wrote, provide the best quality info leads to a schedule. Provide the best quality into leads on a schedule to further a robust database and find who is ready to act on a purchase. Right?
Yeah, well, daily
Yeah.
we start by, I try to really, I improve so much as I go on with the quality of what I'm at least trying to put out there to people, to keep them in the loop, put my name out front to them, ask them what they need. And over time, you filter to the ones who are ready to act. And you just never know. It's the whole thing with, you never know, keeping that almost as a lively piece for you. Like I did just finish a transaction with a young couple. It started in January with the male partner. And by the end, we were an unlikely match for them to select me as their realtor if you really thought like that. The fact is, we ended up going the full distance with lots of good people involved. And at the end, though, I know you couldn't read the face or something. At the end, the last thing they said to me recently was, you just don't know how much it's meant to have you work with us. And, I wasn't catching, the accolades thing. I was like, I couldn't tell that I don't know. I probably wouldn't have been surprised if, that it was average or something. So I don't know, that was very satisfying, but I didn't know that was coming as an answer.
Tiffany,
Yeah,
I'm noticing a pattern of our friends here, and maybe because we teach this so much in Ignite,
I know where you're going.
none of you are being selfish enough. I don't want to hear about your clients. You're not being selfish enough. We are avoiding saying we want to fund a big life powered by a big why. None of you are saying it. Stop BSing, right? Because if you're here, none of us are at the very top of where we are. This is a daily growth thing, but none of you are being selfish enough in your goals. This is what you think we're supposed to say out loud because nobody wants to hear, I want to make more money. I'm going to tell you guys right now, my purpose is to be the best RTT on the planet so that my husband can quit his job as a paramedic, finish his last year of school without having to worry about him putting a dime into our family. I need to make as much money and income and live a good life still while making it so that my husband can do the things he needs to do to fuel his dream, right? So yes, mine's surrounded by money, but it's powered by a big why, which is making sure that my family's taken care of. Get selfish, get deeper, because it's actually not selfish. We have those desires. If you want to, Karina wants to help her girls, right? And her husband, that's all fueled by money. You can't take trips with your husband if you don't make money, or if you do, you're just racking up that credit card debt, right?
Yep.
We've got to be, it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to have these dreams, wants, and desires. If it's a lake home, cool. If it's a place on the water, cool. If it's to pay off your kids' college debt, cool. Get deeper, get selfish. Tiffany, was that where you thought I was gonna go for my soapbox moment?
I wasn't going to use the word selfish,
But it's
it
true.
was in my head. But yeah, and you know what, mine is really like 23 years in the business. And I told you guys last week, like I came from a single mom who had me at 14, and like the one thing that she taught me was ridiculous work ethic, right? And we rolled pennies to pay the bills. And I was okay with that. My legacy that I want to leave is when I'm 60 years old, I want to own a home. I'm going to own. I will own a home on each corner of the United States, have a private plane that I can fly my family no matter where they are to me for our holiday so that we can spend time together, right? Nothing wrong with that. And in the process, how many lives will I change?
You only have 35 years to go, Tiffany, they said. All right, guys, we are wrapping this up. I want an action item. What are you going to do right now when you get off this call? What are you doing today to make sure you're being purposeful about your one thing?
And while they're doing that, Brooks, will you put in the chat the workbook? Because everyone should be taking the time to be selfish in this workbook.
Well, yes, you should be doing the workbook. Can't be part of your action item because that is required, friends, to get through this. It's what are you going to take from today and put it into play? Because if you just go to class and you're a serial listener, you're never going to move forward.
Amy said finding the right accountability partner.
Awesome. Who wants to beat Amy up? I mean, who wants to be her accountability partner? Jane will. Jane, I'll email you Amy's info and connect you both. I have you both.
Yeah, I need an accountability partner, so this will help.
Lindsay said, plan my day for tomorrow. Plan every tomorrow.
Yes.
The day before.
I'm going to challenge you. Time block what every day should look like and fill in around the blocks.
I'm going to get to David's. Tiffany said choosing one new habit to really focus on and get right before adding on one more, and make sure that habit is the first habit to move you forward to where you want. And then David says being a professional webinar attender is not the way to go. Yes, no.
No,
Although we love you.
we do. And you got to learn, but you can't just learn for learning's sake. You got to learn for doing sake, and you've got to take this stuff and put it into action.
Yep. Who else wants to share? Go bigger and more selfish with my big why. I'll be honest with you, like legit 23 years in the business, it took me some huge mindset shifts to make. And I really discovered my big why like 3-4 years ago. So it takes time. What else? All right. Nobody else wants to share, Brooke. I'm going to start with blocking specific activities tomorrow and print out the 66-day challenge calendar and fill it in. Absolutely. I love
Lindsay
that.
cannot be David's, by the way, you can't be each other's accountability partners. No. So I love how they're both shaking their heads, and I can see Lindsay's hair hitting the other side of the screen into David's thing. But you can't be each other's. Also, think about if you're going to get an accountability partner to hit your goals, what do they have to ask you? 3 things. Keep it simple. Keep your accountability check-in something small at the same time every day with the right person.
Yep. All right, Brooke.
All right, Tiff.
I feel like we're out until Monday. I don't think we're doing another class. So I know we're going to miss you all. See you on Monday for the KW New England Growth Call. It is Halloween.
And there's a
And my
special
assumption
guest.
is, and if Brooke ends up coming, because I know you might have another activity, but if Brooke comes, it's going to be fun.
Yes.
Don't rely on me for the fun. But
Nope.
all
That's
right,
her
guys, have an awesome-
66-day challenge. Get funner. No. She's so fun.
Did we wear costumes on Monday? Brooke?
Yes, I've been wearing costumes for a week, revving up. I was a devil earlier today. Like, did you miss that? Like, I just couldn't wear it anymore. It started to hurt. I've had a costume every day.
All
I've
right,
got.
guys,
Come on now, you should know
got
me.
another one.
I do. You'll
All
have to.
right. Well, you'll put it on Facebook. And if you're not Facebook friends with us, find our pages and friend us. A little selfishness there. Have an awesome day, everybody.
Bye, guys.